The last topic regarding JavaScript is JavaScript HTML DOM, the properties and methods to access the HTML elements. So these are the specific objectives, how scripts interact with the HTML page. We will be learning the document object model, that is the DOM model. We will first explain the object hierarchy that corresponds to the structure of an HTML document. Then the techniques for accessing HTML document elements using JavaScript. And finally, we will be learning the concepts of events and event handling using the DOM model. The current version of DOM is DOM 3. So starting with the browser hierarchy, already in some slides we have already seen that window object is the base object which represents the browser in which the current document is being displayed. It is a global object and it has several child objects like documents, frames, screen, etc. Location navigator, etc. are other methods, and it has properties like open, close, etc. which defines opening of a browser, closing of a browser, etc. While using this direct objects of this global window object, we does not have to have the dot operator to be prefixed with the child objects. So our particular concern is with our document object, which we will be seeing in the further slides. HTML DOM is nothing but a tree-like hierarchy of objects which are there in the page, and whenever a page is loaded within the browser, it creates a DOM model, and it has several properties, child objects, methods, etc. So we have already seen some of the methods of the window objects like alert, confirm and prompt, and at that scenario itself I have told they need not be prefixed with the window.code. But the document object properties, which is a child object of the window, the document.write, so here it has to be prefixed with the document object. So now what is the need of DOM, or how DOM is helpful? DOM will be helping you to retrieve elements from an HTML document. We will be able to create new elements in a document, alter elements in a document. We can also remove elements from a document. Then finally, so this helps in handling events like button click, focus, etc. So this DOM help you to add much more dynamicity in your HTML pages. It reacts to certain actions dynamically whenever user does something in a web page. As I said before, we have seen it is a tree-like structure, and all the HTML element and attributes, they can be retrieved using the same name as the attributes. We will see that in examples. So this is sample tree structure. So here I have an HTML document, HTML, with head part and body part as a direct tag. So tree structure is created with HTML as the document root. So this directly contains two elements, head and body. Inside head I have a title element and sample document is the title given. So the inside head I have a title element and the sample document is the leaf node in that. Then considering the body tag, I have two tags, h1 and p. So h1 and p, and h1 contains an HTML document text, and inside p I have another I element, and inside I have symbol document element. So inside p I have another I element, and this is a document. These are text values, and finally simple. So this is quite simple. All the tags will be made into a tree structure with HTML document tag as the root tag. Here is another example. Here only one thing which is added is an attribute. So again starts with the document HTML root element, head tag and body tags as sub elements. Inside head we have title and the text as my title. Inside the body tag we have A and h1 as element. A has text my link, and also the attribute is href is also represented in this tree. element h1 has the text my header. So this is how the tree representation is made. This will make easier how you access the element. So of course you can understand by this document dot element dot. Likewise we can move forth inside this tree to access each elements one by one. This is a concept for which this tree structure is used. Now we move on how we can access the elements, or how we can retrieve the elements in the HTML. So this again, all the objects have properties and methods. So again, this document object has properties and method. Property is nothing but a value that we can get or set. So we can change or we can retrieve the value of property. Method is something, the action. It is something that we can do with the HTML element. For example, suppose that we have an input element. Input type is equal to text. So this is a text box. And the name of the text box is address and ID is equal to element1, EL1. So this can be represented as an object with three properties. So this can be an object with three properties. First one is the type property, name property, and the ID property with values text, address, and EL1 respectively. In most of the cases, the property names of tags are same as the corresponding attribute names. So these are some of the methods available in DOM model for accessing elements. We will see this one by one. First one is get element by ID. So we already know that we can have ID property for any of the tags, and ID is unique within an HTML page. An ID will not be repeating. So get element by ID will and give the parameter as the give ID. So it will retrieve the element using this ID, and it will retrieve a single element only because ID is unique. The second one is get elements by name. So you can see here it is elements by name. So another property which we generally add to HTML tags is the name property. But name property is not unique as ID. We can repeat the names. For example, hope you remember all the grouping of radio buttons and all the radio buttons should be given the same name. So such set of elements will be retrieved together. So this that is why the name get elements by. So here ID means the name. So here the name has to be given. So it will retrieve the elements by name, and the retrieved result will be an array of elements. So one by one we can access that array by using the array index. Similar is the next property, get elements by tag name here also. So this is accessing the elements using tag name. So tags will be repeated within the HTML page. So multiple elements will be retrieved, and here also it will be retrieved as array of elements. And finally we have get elements by class name. So in div and span we have seen how you give a class name and all. So elements which belong to same class will be retrieved by this method, and we have to give the class name as the parameter for this. And there is one property known as inner HTML property. By the name itself you can understand this is the text that we give between two tags, that is the inner HTML property. So this property is the easiest way for getting or replacing the content of an element, content of a tag inside the web page. We will see an example using this. So as I said, the first one retrieves only a single element, other three retrieves array, and we can use them with the subscript values. So hope you're clear with the 4 different methods of retrieving elements. So here is an example, quite simple example. I have an HTML page. Here is the body tag. I haven't mentioned any head tags. So I have 4 elements. First is a P element, paragraph element with ID is equal to demo. Second one is an anchor tag with ID is equal to link. It has the href property which redirect to Google page, and it says that the text says the inner HTML. This is the inner HTML. This says go to Google. You can see it here. And next I have another paragraph element, name is equal to para. I have another paragraph element again with the name para. So this I have repeated the name, same name is repeated for two different paragraph elements. Now we will see how this is accessed by using JavaScript. So we have 4 properties. We will see one by one. The first one is get element by ID. So here I have defined the ID demo for a paragraph element. So demo is used for retrieving. And what I am doing with this, here you can see that I haven't given any content inside this paragraph. That is, inner HTML is not at all defined. So I am going to give some value in that paragraph element. So dot inner HTML, that is a property which help you to get and set. Previously itself I have said the properties can be used to get as well as set values. We can retrieve the values and also we can set the values. Here I am going to set the value dot HTML, that is get element by ID demo dot HTML. So this will retrieve this particular p tag, and the inner HTML of that particular p tag I am going to set as access by ID. So you can see the output here. It will be displaying access by ID in the paragraph tag in this web page. So hope this is clear. The second one is get elements by name. So here I have given para as the name for 2 p tags. So I am giving para as the parameter, that is the name of the tag, and I set this act as an array. This will be retrieving 2 values. This first paragraph and this is the second paragraph which are retrieved. So this will be having an index 0 and this will be having an index 1. That is why I am accessing it like an array with index 0 dot HTML. First paragraph access by name. I am giving an inner HTML here. So you can see here first paragraph access by name. Before that I already have an AA element, that's why it is displayed over here. We will come to that. Secondly, get elements by name para of 1. This will be accessing the second p tag and its second paragraph accessed by name. That is displayed over here. Now moving on to the next property, get element by ID link. So I have an anchor element over here with ID is equal to link. So where I am accessing this to another link object. So after accessing it, this is a getting of properties. So in these things we set the properties. Here I am going to here we retrieve the properties, that is get properties, but here I am going to set the property of this link tag to something else. It already have Google as its href. So I am going to rewrite that. Link text is link.innerHTML. So I am going to access the link text, that is go to Google. So that text is accessed and it is printed. So link text is go to Google. Sorry, here it is accessing the properties. Here it is setting the properties. Next one is document.write link href is. So what is the link value given here? So in the previous slide we have already said the attributes are same. Attributes have the same name as the property, or the name of the properties used are same as the attribute name. So link.href. So href will be automatically be a property of this link tag, and that will be accessed here. So http://google.co.in, that is the value of the link. So in this way you can get and set the values of HTML in your web page. So here I have another example where I am going to change the colors of a table. So this is the head part and this is the body part. In the body part I have just defined a table with ID my table and border is equal to 1. This is the table, and for each TD I have defined IDs. LTD0, RTD0. Likewise for each TD I have given ID values, and there is a link, click to change colors. I have ahref is equal to hash. It will not be redirecting to any other pages. On click of that link, return change color. So I have a function here, change colors function. So this will be accessing the change colors function. And inside change colors function, what happens? We will see first it is accessing the elements which is having tag name TD. So get elements by tag name TD. So all the elements which are having the tag name TD is accessed over here. So these are also all these are TDs. All these links will be accessed over here, and it will be count a1.length. Again, length property will be there. As it is an array, the length properties can be used. So count is equal to total length. So one by one, it will be accessing the properties. What is the property? Style dot background. So each and every TD will be having a style termed as background, and that background color I am changing to pink. So all the table will be now having pink as the background color. So thereby we can change the color. Please read these IDs as TD instead of RTD, LTD, etc. So that's why all these are accessed as TD elements. So all these columns will be having the pink color after the after clicking the change colors link, because we are changing a1 of I dot style dot background. So this is how I access the background color property. Now we can get and set attributes using the get attribute method and set attribute method respectively. It has two parameters, the attribute to change and the intended value for that attribute. So we'll see the example. I have link tag ahref is equal to www.gia.org and ID as link. So in the script part, so here I have a script part defined. In the script, I am accessing the link document.getElementBy ID link. So this page initially it has gia.org as the link. So I am alerting that. After that, I am going to set attribute. So the get attribute property help you to retrieve the attribute, and set attribute. I have first parameter is the name of the attribute, and the second parameter, as I said, it's a new value. href, I am assigning a new value www.microsoft.com. So after that, if I try to access the href value using get attribute, it will be displaying Microsoft.com. So this is how we can use get and set attributes. In the previous case, we accessed it using the property name. Here we can use the two functions or methods, get attribute and set attributes. Then we can create and delete elements to a web page to add much more dynamicity. Two methods are there, create element and first of all, this create element method is used to create an element. So this is this is how it is used, where new element NWEL is equal to, in the document I am going to create an element. So document, this is a method of the document object. So document dot create element. So E is capital, create element P. So I am going to create a P tag. So we don't have to give the angle bracket and all, we just have to give the name of the tag. So once it is created, we need to append the element to the document. For this, we have another method known as append child method. So this element is appended to the body tag of the document. So document.body.append child NWEL. So this is given as a parameter to the append child. So similarly, we can add titles also. If you have a title, then document.head.add that element. So as the elements are generally added to the body, so this P element is added to the body of the document. So if you remember the tree structure, you can identify this document.body. So body is within the document tag. Then now the P element is created. Now we want to add contents to that P element. So for that, we have to add the text contents, we have another method which is known as create text node. Create text node will create a text node. That is the leaf elements of any tree structure. So after creating, so we can do this separately, or in this I have done it in a single line. New element is already there. Dot append child document dot create text node hello world. So this text called hello world is added to the child. So append child can be used here also to add text to the document. Text to the particular element. First of all, we created the element, then using append child we added that element to the document itself. Then we created a text node and it is appended to the paragraph tag. Now if you want to remove any of the existing elements, we can use the remove child method. So suppose EL2 is another element which is existing, then we can access it by using ID, and from where we are removing, from the document dot body. From the body inside the document I am going to remove child rem1, or we can directly use this part alone inside this as a single statement. So any element if there with the ID EL2 will be removed from the HTML document. So now using this also the pages will become dynamic. So here is an example. I have 5 elements over here. So I use a loop to initially create. So this page was initially blank. So in the body part I have script which adds element to the HTML page. So this is how I did it using a for loop 5 times. Document.create element P. I set the attribute ID as EL1. So one by one I have set the attribute. First one will be having ID EL0. Second one will be having ID. So this is EL0, EL1, EL2, EL3 and EL4. These are the IDs of the created documents. Then I have, after creating that, I have appended that to the document.body using the append child method. After appending, then I have created text for all these child elements. Then using the append child method, document.create text node. I created a text node with random values hello world plus I. So hello world 0, hello world 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So now I have 5 elements. I am going to delete one element from this. So I am going to delete EL2 here. So document.get element by ID EL2 and document.body.remove child rem1 will remove that particular. So here you can see after removing this, the output will be like hello world 0, 1, but the ID with EL2 that is removed and the 3 and 4 are there. So dynamically we can create elements and remove elements using these methods. So create text node is the method used to create the text inside the HTML elements. Now we move on to the important part, which is events and event handling. So event is nothing but a notification that something specific has occurred in your page. For example, if you click a button, if you enter some value into the text box, if the focus move out of a certain control. So all these are events. And event handler is a function generally defining what to do when an event occurs. So the event handler is a function which is executed when an event occurs. So these are some of the HTML events: on click, on double click. Of course you can understand it. On click is when click happens, on double click is when a double click happens. On load occurs when a page gets loaded. On focus when an element is focused. On submit occurs when a form is submitted by clicking the submit button. On change whenever an input or selection is changed. On mouse move when we move mouse over certain control. On key press when we stroke a keyboard key, then this event happens. These are some of the sample events. So event handlers can be specified as follows. The HTML tag has attribute associated with a specific event and its handler code. So in the previous example also we have seen on click is equal to so and so. In many buttons I have used the same pattern of code. So on click is equal to corresponding JavaScript. So this can be a direct string literal. On click is equal to alert mouse click. So here there is no function to activate. Directly a string literal is literal for displaying an alert window is given as the on click event handler. On the another method is to give it as a function. I have written a my handler function in which my script code to modify the HTML page is there, and on click whatever changes specified in this function will be activated. And generally document.write is not used in an event handler because output may go to the top of the display. This is the descriptive list of all the events in HTML DOM, which is defined in HTML DOM. And these are the events and these are the tag attributes. So blur is event and on blur is the tag attribute. So we use the tag attributes inside each element. So click is the event, on click is the tag attribute. Likewise, we can refer to this to learn all the events in HTML DOM. And not all properties, all these apply to all the elements. Some elements may be related to some attributes only. So for example, on blur can be used with anchor tag, button, input, text area, select, etc. On change applies to only input, text area and select, because the value input can be of different types, text, password, etc. So all these will be applied to the text area and select. These are the elements in which we can input certain values. So on change of that value, that will be applicable to only these. On click applies to a anchor tag and input tags. On double click will be applicable to most of the elements. So likewise, the list of elements and the attributes applicable to that elements is given in these two lists. Just have a look at this to have an idea of what all elements and what are their specific events. So here is an example on accessing this using attributes. So here I have another HTML page. In the body part I have H1, a link, a heading H1. On click of this heading is currently containing the value click on this text. You can see this is the in first window. So click on this text. This is H1 tag. And what I am doing in the on click event of this H1. If I click on this H1, this dot inner HTML is equal to oops. So this dot means in this context the inner HTML within this element, this refers to this element. So this element dot inner HTML. So inner HTML properties again used here. Inner HTML is changed to oops. So you can see the output here, the H1 tag. Once I click on this, it is changed to oops. Coming to another event, I have a paragraph text defined later which contain my text, which contains the element, which contains the data, my original text. So my original text is a paragraph tag defined text here. And on double click, if I double click on this paragraph, this dot inner HTML is changed to my text change. So you can see the change here. After double clicking, it is changed to my text change. And another one is regarding the ahref anchor tag. So initially the anchor tag contains an inner HTML click here. So this is displayed as click here. And an on click event is registered here. On click, this dot inner HTML is equal to you click me. So once I click on this, Google page will open. At the same time, the text in the anchor tag will be changed into you click me. Generally, once you click a link, its color will change. So if you want to change the HTML part also, then you can use this property using the inner HTML attribute. So this is an example of how the inner HTML values are changed using event handlers. This is another example of handling events from the body element. So two common events created by body are load and unload. So whenever a page is loaded, a load event is created, and whenever a page is closed, then an unload event is created. So this example illustrates the use of that. So I have a function onload. I have an event onload here in the body part. So body only have the onload event. It will not be applicable to elements individually. You can refer to that previous list for getting all these details. So I have a function fn load greeting. This function is invoked whenever a body is called. So suppose that if you have a web page, whenever it is loaded, you want to display some particular greetings to the user, you can use this kind of onload methods. And this is the script part. I have a function load greeting alert. This is an alert. You are visiting the home page of Tokachi Institute of Science and Technology. Welcome. So this is an alert created, and this is activated on the loading of the body of the HTML. So now we move on to using the form elements. Inside the document we generally create, inside HTML we generally create forms. Form tag, hope you remember the last one which we studied in the module 2. So this also, the form is also created as an array which refers to the elements of the form. So document.form of 0 refers to the first form. Any HTML page can have any number of forms. So form is created as an array. So form of 0, that is the first form. It refers to the first form. The form has a name. So like any other elements, we can give name to forms also. So we can access the form using the name of the form, like this document.form name. Each of the form object has its elements array. Again, we have a list of elements. So all these elements will be again represented as an array of elements. So this is how you access the first element in a first form. Document.forms of 0. This is the first form. Dot element of 0. So this refers to the first element. So we can refer to only if one form is there, then also we can refer to as form of 0. That will be an array. Another way to use is the element name, same as the form name. If I have given an element name, I can access it using the element name. Document, suppose that I have a form, name is equal to my form. My form's name is my form. Input type is equal to text. There is a text box with name is equal to USID. So this can be accessed as document.myform.usid. So again, this is specifically referred like this if we have element names. So in the first case, we are generically accessing this in a generic manner, document.forms of 0, element of 0. But here, as I have given names to the form as well as element, it can be also accessed as document.myform.usid. So this is how you access the form elements. We'll be having many event handlers for different elements too, that we will see in the further slides. So another way is to use the normal get element by ID. Already we have studied that. So any HTML tag can be given an ID, and this get element ID can be applied to forms or anything else. So no need to access it directly by using the form array systematically. We can directly access it by using the ID. For example, input text box has an ID USID. We can directly access it using document.getElementById USID without going to the form hierarchy. So here is an example. This example contains a form where there are two text boxes. Input type is equal to text, name is equal to USID, and ID is USID. So there is a text box over here. Then I have another another element which is a submit button. So input type is equal to submit, and I have defined an on-click event over here. On-click is equal to function1. So this, on clicking on this button, it will be accessing the first function. So function1. So here is the function1 defined within the head portion of the HTML page. So what it does, we will see one by one. So it is just illustrating what are the three different ways in which I can access this text box. So first way is using the document and form hierarchy. So document dot form 0, because this is the first form in this document, dot element of 0, because this input type is the first element of that particular document. So in this way, element 1 is accessed in the first method, then element 2 document.forms of 0 dot USID. It is accessed using ID, and in the third method I am accessing is using directly by the get element by ID method using the USID as the ID. And after getting all these, I'm trying to displaying the value to show that all these retrieve the same value, ELEM1 dot value. So here is another useful method, dot value. So dot value will refer to the value which is typed in within that particular control. So remember this, because you may be using this for many practical examples. For example, if you input some value and if you try to do some operations with that value can be accessed by this property, dot value property. So remember this dot value property. So here is the final output. First value is equal to hello, second value is hello, third value is hello. This makes you understand that all these methods effectively retrieves the same element only. Now we see another example of handling a radio button. Radio button, I have created a function, function ch handler, choice handler. So I'm not displaying the full HTML page. I have 3 input radio buttons. All these will be having the same names to make it a radio group. But the value I am defining, I have to give a value. Hope you remember all these properties which you studied in module 2. So value can be given for each of the choices. So the first choice value is red, second choice it is blue, and third choice it is green. And then I am defining on click handler for each of the radio button. If I click on any of these buttons, this click handlers will be activated because I am defining on click for all the 3 buttons. Now we will see what happens in the function ch handler. So I am first trying to access the radio button. So radio element radel is equal to document dot forms of 0. So this is within the first form. Dot RB is nothing but the name of the radio button, or I can use element of 0. So this is I already told that this kind of elements will be accessed as an array, because RB, the name is given to 3 radio buttons here, so this will be accessed as an array. So dot length gives you a total length. So using a for loop where I is equal to 0, I less than rad element dot length I plus plus. I have to then see which of these radio buttons are checked. Suppose that I am selecting this blue. So hope you remember you have a property checked for radio button and check boxes and selected for drop down boxes, which you studied in module 2. So I am first checking which of these is checked. So that is done using an if loop, if statement. Red EL dot 1 EL of 1 is checked or not. So this will retrieve true only if it is checked, otherwise. So it is a loop. So access the first one. It will check whether it is checked or not. No, it is not checked. So it will not enter the if statement. Again, coming to the next one, blue is checked, so that it will be evaluating to true, and then what happens, it will enter the if statement C is equal to rad el dot values. It will retrieve the value of this. I have already given the value here, value is equal to blue. So that value is being retrieved, and we know that in radio button only one can be checked. So you can break the loop and go outside if you find one is checked, because now no one else will be checked simultaneously. So then you will be alerting that value which you have returned, alert you selected C. So this is the output, you selected blue, because here I have made the selection for the blue one. So this is how you access radio button using handlers. So similar code can be applied to check boxes, select boxes, etc. Only thing you have to remember is you have to give a value at the HTML part, and while accessing you can use that value to distinguish between the retrieve values. The application questions will be based on this kind of handling functions. This is another example for accessing elements, accessing the values from text box and doing some operations based on that. This is a simple example of adding two numbers. So this is the form that I have. I have two input text boxes, first number and second number, and I have a button find sum. On clicking this button, the result should be displayed in another text box, and this text box should not be accessible for typing by the user. User will not be able to type into this button. This is only a deactivated button which is used to display the result. So we'll see what happens. So this is the form created. Add two numbers, H3 heading is there, add two numbers. Then first number, type is equal to text, ID is equal to num1. So this is the text box. Second number, ID is equal to num2. So this is the second text box. Then I have a button, value is equal to find sum on click. So on click event of this button triggers the sum, calculation of sum. So find sum is the function which I have invoked here. On clicking this, it will invoke the function. And finally, I have another input text box, and in this on focus, this dot blur. So blur is nothing but it is fading the focus of that. User will not be able to enter anything into it. So on focus, whenever this is focused, if I try to focus this and enter some value, then this dot blur, this will be blurred. We will not be able to enter values in this. So that is a blur property. So now we will see what happens in the function. Function find sum. In the find sum, I have to access the first value which I have entered here, 12. So where n1 is equal to document dot get element by ID. So as I have given an ID, I can access it directly without going to the form hierarchy. Get element by ID num1 dot value. So as I said before, dot value is used to access the entered values. So n2 is the second value, dot value. The thing to remember, as I've said before, where sum is equal to, if we directly do n1 plus l2, the result will be 1, 2, 1, 4, which is nothing but the concatenation of the two values, because these two will be string values. So you can convert, here I am using the number constructor to convert the values number of n1 and n2 to get it converted to number type. So on finding the sum will be 26. So how will I write the sum to the text box? Document dot get element by ID. What is this text box? Sum is the ID of the text box. So get element by ID sum dot value. So this is getting the value and this is setting the value equal to sum. So getting and setting can be done like this: value setting and value retrieval. So hereby we will be assigning the value 26 to the new text box. So hope you are clear with this. Another example for helping you to work with checkboxes. I have three checkboxes. Checkboxes essentially may not be having the same name as in radio, because we have the choice to select more than one checkbox. It has 3 different text boxes with 3 different names, check 1, check 2 and check 3. And whatever values there, I can either give value over here, or here I am using a shortcut method. On click, I am just calling a function and passing some value. So here I have 1, 2, 3 values. So I'm just giving value 1, 2, 3, or you can give it as a hint for any other kind of operations. So do check of 2 will be done on second choice click, and do check of 3 will be done on the third choice tick. And here at the script part in header, I have a function do check value. I'm just alerting that value. So if I click on the second checkbox, it will be displaying the value checked is 2. So these are some of the simple examples in which you handle events using JavaScript and HTML DOM. Once you try out some examples, it will be quite easy for you to learn. Now the last part of this is jQuery. jQuery, just introduction is to be learned. You can have several references for this, please, and also you have online references. We will be learning how to use jQuery, and some fundamental methods regarding jQuery. jQuery is a lightweight, fast, small, feature-rich and closed platform JavaScript library. So jQuery provides a JavaScript library which help you to write less and do more. So jQuery assists you to make the coding much easier than in Java, or jQuery help you to use JavaScript much easier by using library codes. So without writing so many lines, with the just calling of a library function, you can access the same methods. So it simplifies a lot of complicated things from JavaScript like AJAX calls, animations and DOM manipulation, and it provides an easy to use API for the coders. Then it is free and open source, and we can create plugins. It helps to create plugins for on top of the JavaScript library. Some of the principles of developing with jQuery: separation of JavaScript and HTML. jQuery library provides a clear separation of adding event handlers, etc. at the script, and this encourages developers to completely separate JavaScript code from HTML markup. We don't have to mix up the two things. Goal is to separate the structure from the behavior or action which is defined in JavaScript. Then brevity and clarity. It provides brief and clear codes, some features like chainable function and shorthand function names. Elimination of cross-browser incompatibilities. Then finally, extensibility by using new events, elements and methods, by adding new events, and then they can be reused as plugins. So jQuery is used by many of the firms like Microsoft, Google, IBM, Netflix, etc. For adding jQuery to web pages, there are several ways to start jQuery. We can download the jQuery library from the jQuery.com to the server, or include jQuery from a CDN like Google API. So this is the way in which it is done. Generally, the basic syntax of using any jQuery actions is simple. Use a $sign, then specify the selector within brackets .action. So this is a simple format for doing some actions using jQuery. So select something, do something. This is specified. So selectors will be similar to selector forms which we studied in CSS. So $sign define access or jQuery. Selector defines to what to be found out, and action defines what to be done with the element. So this is the basic syntax of defining an action with jQuery. And the document ready events. This is the event within which all jQuery methods are placed. So this syntax $document dot ready function. and all the jQuery methods are defined within this. This is to prevent any jQuery code from running before the document is finished loading. So after loading only it supports any of the script to be executed. To ensure that we put the content like this. Then the jQuery selectors are similar to our JavaScript, our CSS selectors. This is the most important selector, like the selector forms which we have studied in CSS. This is the most important part of the jQuery library. This selectors allow you to select and manipulate HTML elements. Selectors can be based on name, ID, classes, types, attributes, values of attributes, etc. It is based on the existing CSS selectors, and in addition it has some custom selectors also. And the selector starts with a $sign, which we have seen in the previous slide. Within bracket we can specify the details. These are some of the selector examples. This dot hide. This hides the current element. $P. P is a paragraph. Dot hide. It hides all the paragraph elements. Dot test. So dot is generally used with the class, generic classes. So dot test. All the classes which are named as test should be hides. Hides all the elements with class is equal to test. And finally, this hash symbol is used with ID. So this will hide all the elements which is having the ID test. So hash is for ID and dot is for class. So these are the simple examples. First one, the element selector. Element selector is the simple selector that we studied in CSS. The format is the only difference. Within bracket, give the tag name. So this is a simple element selector which selects the elements of type P. So as we said before, this is put inside the ready function. $button.click function on clicking of a button. So they defined the click function of a button, and what happens? $p.hide. All the paragraph elements will be hidden. The ID selector $hash test, where hash represents the ID and this is the name of the ID. So this will help you to hide a particular element. This is similar to an ID selector of the CSS. Then class selector $.test. This is hiding all the class elements. These are some of other examples of jQuery selectors. So star as our global selector in CSS, star represents a global set of values. So it selects all the elements in the jQuery. This represents the current HTML element. We have seen this context. It represents the current HTML element. P.inro, these are all syntax which are similar to our CSS selector forms. P dot, so all the dot is used with class name, so all the elements, P elements with the class name intro, that is meant by in this. Then P colon. Colon is used to select the first P element. So here it will select the first paragraph element. UILI.first, it select the first list item of the first UL. UILI.first child, select the first LI element of every UL. So this is how we define. Then within double quotes, if you give an href within square bracket, it selects all the elements with an href attributes. So if we are giving only the attribute name, we can have it within square brackets and within quotes. It selects all the elements which is having an href attributes. These are the some of the examples of jQuery selectors. A target is equal to _ blank. So wherever we have specified target is equal to _ blank, those elements are all selected. A target is equal to target not is equal to _ blank. _ blank, hope you remember why you use this. To open a window open a page in a new window or new tab, we will be using _ blank. So a target not equal to underscore null. So it selects all the anchor elements without having a blank page as target. Then colon button. Select all the button elements and input elements of type button. So tr colon even, select all the even tr elements. So these are advanced ways in which we can access elements quite easily. Then jQuery events, event methods are also there. All the different visitor actions that a web page can respond to are known as events. So the concept of event is similar. So jQuery can fire certain functions on recognizing certain event. Key press is event is fired, then on the moment you press a key, you have to do something during an event happens. Some of the DOM events for jQuery are click, double click, mouse enter, mouse leave. Keyboard events are key press, key down, key up. Form elements are submit, change, focus, blur. Document window elements are load, resize, scroll and unload. In jQuery, most DOM elements have an equivalent jQuery method. So it is almost similar to our DOM model. And click method attaches an event handler function to an HTML element. Here we have a click function. This attaches the event handler to an HTML element. The function is executed when the user clicks on the HTML element. So this is the jQuery syntax for event methods. $p.click. So this is assigning click event to all paragraphs on a page. Next step is to define what should happen when the event fires. So $p.click function, that action should be defined within the this particular function. We must pass a function to the event, and when a click event fires on a paragraph element, hide the content of the paragraph element. So here is an example, just go through this. This is another example which affects the background color. And this is a summary of module 4. We have learned the client-side scripting using JavaScript, and this helps you to create dynamic web pages. All these things we have studied in this topics. These are the references, and thank you.